In this video, I'm going to be talking about two of Elgato's capture cards. We're going to be talking about the HD60X and the HD60S. Which one is best for you? Which one should you buy? Now, I'm going to be coming from the perspective of a gamer who uses Mac, but also this will apply to Windows. So essentially, the differences between the two different models is that the HD60X will be able to do 4K resolution output. It can do 30 FPS at 4K. HD60S is also limited to 60 frames per second, but at 1080p. But also in terms of the software that these things use, basically the HD60S actually uses the better software with the Elgato Game Capture. I find that runs 10 times smoother. It's also applicable for the HD60S Plus if you got one of those as well. I find that the software is just a lot better, a lot smoother overall in terms of gameplay recording. And I've been using that for a few years now, and I've really enjoyed using that Elgato Game Capture. If only the Elgato Game Capture could be used for the Elgato HD60X, I'll be very happy with it. But the limitations with the HD60X is that it only works with OBS Studio, unfortunately. Now, it also works with QuickTime, but because of that, it has certain limitations. So I find that Elgato runs smoother in terms of just gameplay recording, the output recording, all makes sense and everything like that. And I've tried to get it working with 4K resolution on this HD60X, and I've actually had a few issues of actually getting it output to 4K from OBS Studio and stuff like that. So what I'm doing now is using the QuickTime, and from the QuickTime I can output and export to 4K resolution. But with the Elgato software, you know, it's so good and it's really easy to use. So actually, for the ease of use of it, if you don't need the 4K output, honestly, just go for this. Like, it's really, really good for just that use. The only other real issues with the HD60X is the output of audio from the actual console. But with the Elgato software, you'll actually be able to hear the in-game audio, you know, using the game capture. So it's a lot easier to use in that sense. Whereas with this one, you know, you're gonna have to attach a headset to the actual game capture. And then from there, you know, you're gonna have to, you know, use an external microphone and stuff like that, while the game capture just has everything more inbuilt. I guess like OBS is a bit of a more technical software to use. So we've got two different softwares. The way I'm gonna use the HD60X is just through QuickTime, while I can use the Elgato HD60S in the future for, you know, stuff like PlayStation 4 recordings and stuff like that, and still get away with that. It just doesn't do the 4K resolution that the HD60X can do, but it definitely has like zero problems. In terms of lag, like I've not had any problems with the lag, especially with the HD60S. No problems with the lag. I've seen a bit of lag with the HD60X, so it definitely struggles with those high resolutions, but it definitely won't struggle with 1080p. So this game capture is a little bit more expensive than the HD60S for obvious reasons. Like, it can do a higher output resolution, but I managed to get this for a pretty good price for just over like $200 on Amazon. So if you have Amazon, like, it's definitely a worthwhile pickup. But overall, in terms of just like the overall workhorse for the last couple of years, like I have been using the HD60S. Now there is the upgradable version of the HD60S that people can get, so I actually recommend something more like that for your setup. I definitely enjoyed the HD60S a little bit more than using the HD60X, but it's going to take time to get used to like all the brand new softwares. Like, to use the HD60X itself, I need to upgrade my Mac software so it's up to date, download two different softwares. So you've got not only OBS Studio, but you have to download the capture device software as well to be able to actually recognize this capture card. And in terms of actual connections, like they connect in pretty much the exact same way. You know, you're gonna get the input and the output of two HDMIs. So this one obviously has the pass-through rate of a little bit higher with the 4K resolution, and Elgato capture cards with the HD60 series, that's only going to have about 1080p max output, but that's pass-through. So that basically means that when you attach to an external monitor, that's how much of the resolution it's actually passing through to, whereas the input is the input sort of resolution. So this one has a max input resolution of the 1080p with 60 frames per second. As I mentioned before, this one has the 4K input resolution, which is really good. And this one's more up to date as well. It's more of a later Elgato capture card that has come out recently. So this one, I think it was like only a year or two old, while this one is obviously a couple years old. So this one is fully made for your PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. Well, this one, it still works with all the latest generation. It just has the maximum output of like a little bit less resolution, of course, with the 1080p. So that's why, you know, there's some pros and cons there. So if you want better resolution, then definitely the HD60X is the one you want to probably go for. But if you want more of a smoother overall experience and don't mind having the best resolution, then definitely the HD60S or the HD60S Plus is probably for you, because I find like game capture software itself, like it's just a lot easier to use as a Mac or a Windows user. Like the outputs of just sound, the workflow in itself, like the Elgato game capture stuff is a lot better than using the OBS stuff for me personally. And just some other small minor things. The Elgato HD60X is only a tiny little bit bigger. They weigh about the same, so there's not much difference in terms of the actual weight, the feel of the two. The only major difference is they've designed this capture card with the HD60X with more of the user in mind. So for example, like we have all of our inputs and outputs on one side of this capture card, apart from the headphone output. So basically when it's on your desk, you'll have the headphone output like sort of this way, and then you can attach your headphones there, and then we have all the cables running out this way. Whereas on this capture card with the HD60S, it's different. So basically, it's just like we have the output on this side, which would run through from there to your monitor. And then we have all the Type-C connections and HDMI cables for the input on this side, but the headphone jack is on this side, so it would sort of wire around this way. I don't use the headphone output with this Elgato capture card. I probably will be using the headphone output with this HD60X though. So that's just everything you need to know about these two capture cards.